Wisconsin is as good as it gets if you are like me and you love the college sports.
This is the Jump Around with Jim Rutledge and Pablo Iglesias, streaming live on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Dancing down the sidelines. Can they catch him? No! The Badgers answer instantly. There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game.
Gordon again! Inside the 5, touchdown! What a performance by Melvin Gordon!
Chucky Hepburn, Big Ten on the line. Yes!
Legacy cemented. The 2021 Badgers will go down in history as the first ever at Wisconsin to win a national championship.
That is the best college sports town in America.
Welcome into the Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show with me, Jim Rutledge, alongside Pablo Iglesias. It is a big day today. It is Made 'em Believe. If you walk by the Orpheum in Madison, you will see the sign that says Made 'em Believe, which is a celebration of the Make 'em Believe Badgers that went to the national championship game. Was that a decade ago now, Pablo?
Yeah,
Yes.
The 10-year anniversary. It's going to be fun. Stoked for that. Can't wait to see the Badgers of the past. I mean, I remember watching that team when I was in college. College roommate was a huge Wisconsin Badgers guy. That was where I got the first exposure. Would have loved to have seen Bucky finish it out, but you know what? At the end of the day, as the event says, they made us believe. And that's a fun run at the end of the day to watch this Wisconsin team to have done something like that back-to-back years. It's going to be fun to get to celebrate these guys tonight.
And that team had 2 lottery picks on it, and Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker. I don't know the next time we're going to see a lottery pick out of the University of Wisconsin. That's how we'll get into today's show. No Badgers were taken from, no former Badgers were taken in the first round of the draft. Con Knipple was drafted, a Wisconsin basketball alum for playing high school ball in the state, was selected and 4th overall, and I think he's going to be a baller. We'll get to him in a minute, but we're going to start with John Tonje and his draft stock, and he is currently projected to be the 42nd overall pick to the Kings, according to ESPN. Pro strength, perimeter shooting, free throw shooting, ability to get to the paint. Cons, defense, streaky, and his age. I think at this point his age in the second round doesn't work against him, Pablo, but he averaged basically 20 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds, and 47% last season for the Badgers. I will say this before I get to the scouting report on him from John Hollinger from The Athletic. The issue John Tonje is going to have is that there's no NBA team that's going to let him try to be the player he was at Wisconsin. He cannot be a ball-dominant player. He's not good enough athletically and overall skilled enough to be a number 1 option like he was at Wisconsin. What he has the best chance for is he can be a shooter. He's not much of a defender either, but I think there's always a place in this league for shooting. So let me get to the Hollinger thing, and then I'll allow you the rest of the time to respond because we do have a time limit on these. So the 24-year-old Tonje is older than 7 players on the NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder after completing his 6th college season. It's hard for me to get too excited about an old bully ball guard who spent his true senior season, so not the one with Wisconsin, as the second best player on a team that won 15 and 18 in the Mountain West. But let me try. Tonje can shoot, and that's everything in today's NBA. He made 39% of his threes on high volume last season, 91% from the free throw line. The latter number was staggering with 254 free throws as well. So if he doesn't have a 3, he'll try to bulldoze his way into the paint and either overpower an opponent for a bucket or get fouled. I'll add my part here. That part I just don't see it happening as much in the NBA, but his shooting at a volume like that is great. Needless to say, that approach doesn't have a great history of translating against NBA athletes, but it's possible he can be enough of a floor spacing threat to sort of make it work. Tonje offered little in terms of defense or passing. This would be basically a bet on shooting and bucket getting. I'm not comparing him. This is my part here. I'm not comparing him the style of play-wise, but I think he can be a Malcolm Brogdon-type prospect where he can be a player immediately in your rotation, like your 7th guy, 8th guy, depending on your team, how deep they are. And he's a guy that when you have him on a good contract, you're going to be super excited about it. And then when Malcolm Brogdon got paid, you're like, that wasn't great. And thankfully the Bucks weren't the team that paid him. But I think he's a guy that could still end up making some money in the NBA and hanging around as your 7th, 8th best player on a championship team.
There are two lines that stick out to me. It's the bully ball guard and that Tonje can shoot, and that's everything in today's NBA. We saw it at Wisconsin. I do side with you that it's not the. Can he be that type of guy on a team like where it was like he was Wisconsin's go-to guy? I don't think so. But you know what? It was Giannis had talked about this too on Thanalysis. Is that the NBA needs to be less soft. Like I feel like that have just had a softer NBA. So why not? Why can't he be a bully ball guard? Why can't we bring back a little bit of physicality?
Because he's not athletic enough to do it.
He's strong enough.
He's not NBA strong.
I think he's strong enough. Look, listen, I've said it before. It's all about how you just get in. Just
everything doesn't have to be positive. They said he could shoot. Get it, just shoot.
What's wrong with being positive?
Well, because you're positive, but you're being like you're trying to change the NBA with John Tonje, a 24-year-old guy who had one good college season. The realistic and happy way to look at John Tonje is like the guy could shoot the lights out. He could have a nice NBA career shooting the lights out, like Brooks does for the Bucks. And to me, Tonje should be thrilled if that's the NBA career he can carve out. Like, we can just be realistic and say, Riley, you can hop in on this as well. Like, John Tonje is not a guy who projects to be someone who's going to be a starter on a championship team or a high-level contributor on a championship team, but he can be a rotational player on a championship team, which means knocking down threes, which I think he would sign up for. At 24 years old, again, he's older than 7 players on the NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. If John Tonje can carve out a career knocking down threes for the next 5 to 10 years, that is an amazing success story for him.
I'm with it. I think why not? All I'm saying is, why not John Tonje? Why not?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Pablo, but I'm super optimistic.
But
I'm more on Jim's side. I think John Tonje can be a better shooting, worse defending Pat Connaughton type player. Like a contributor.
That level of player.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, who is a contributor and a fan favorite on a really, really good NBA team. But if you sign him to a long-term deal,
don't tell me about what he did at Wisconsin.
Sam
Decker and Frank Kaminsky were great at Wisconsin. Both of them were okay. Well, Frank was an okay NBA player. Sam Decker was an absolute bust.
Well, Well, he's also a guy that could drive to the rim.
But he can't. Not in the NBA.
Why not?
Because NBA scouts who are paid money say this guy is not going to. Now, they said because of his ability to shoot the three, he might be able to create some buckets. But again, Pat Connaughton offensively is a guy who, if you don't respect his three, he's cooked. But when he can knock it down, then he can sometimes get past you. Again, I'm leaning heavily on the NBA scouts telling you that, like, hey, his path to success in the NBA is shooting the three. And if he becomes Malcolm Brogdon, Pat Connaughton, that is such a big win for John Tonje. Like, that's hard to do.
I just say, why not? Why not, JT? I got him. I'm with him.
All right. If you're going to go with a why not, I just want to share the scouting report on Chucky Hepburn before we get to Con Knipple, also from John Hollinger. Are we completely sure this guy isn't a player? I get all the reasons to discount Hepburn. He's 6'1". He only jumped 26 inches at the combine, and he shot 32.6% from three last year. Short, unathletic, and can't shoot. It is not a tittillating start to a draft profile, which was pretty brutal. But he basically said, and I think this is fair and Tonje at 6'5" and not being super athletic has something similar to Chucky Hepburn. Their size doesn't match their position. If John Tonje was 6'7", I love his chances a little bit more because he could play a little power forward. If Chucky Hepburn was a little bit taller, I would like his chances to hang around. Both these guys are really smart basketball players, and we'll switch off of that for them. So maybe they got a chance because they're smart basketball players. The positive thing for Hepburn is he is elite at getting steals. All right, let's get to Con Knipple. And I believe it was Scary Alvarez who threw out on Twitter, and I don't know, this had to be a bit, because he was saying that Con Knipple would have still gone fourth overall if he was drafted by the if he had played for the Wisconsin Badgers last year. Con Knipple was the highest selection ever for a Wisconsin native, beating out Devin Harris, former Badger. And I'm not saying Con Knipple wouldn't have been a high draft pick, and I'm not saying Greg Gard would coach the same way that Bo Ryan would do with young players, but let's be fully honest. Like, Johnny Davis was his second year at Wisconsin before he took off. John Tonje was a direct transfer, so a more established player. A.J. Storr was a more established player. So there's no track record at all anywhere that Greg Gard would play a freshman and run the offense through that freshman and let that freshman be the star There's been zero evidence of that. Johnny Davis is the closest, but Johnny Davis was year 2 on the team. So I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I mean, I don't understand why we always have to sit here. It's the same thing with Tonje. We can just say and be happy, Greg Gard is a hell of a college basketball coach. It is not Greg Gard's job to get players to the NBA. It's not Greg Gard's job to develop NBA prospects. It's Greg Gard's job to win games at the University of Wisconsin. Now, do I think we're going to have more pros at the University of Wisconsin over the next 5 to 10 years under Greg Gard? Yes, but that's because of the transfer portal. I think you're going to bring in guys who can play. Because let's look right now. Nick Boyd, who was brought in, probably the biggest name on the transfer portal, he reminds me a lot of a Chucky Hepburn type in the idea that he's a guy at 6'2", even though he could ball, he's not going to play in the pros. He's too small. But he could be a hell of a player for the Badgers. John Tonje, at his height and athleticism, maybe not have a long NBA career, but he was a hell of a college basketball player, and that's all we care about. So I didn't understand the grasping at straws trying to say that Greg Gard would turn Con Knippel into the same player. Also, by the way, the one thing that would work in Greg Gard's favor on this is Con Knippel is, from my understanding, reading scouting reports and hearing people talk about him, one of the most instinctual and smart basketball players you can come around. And the few times he had to be a star at Duke when Cooper Flagg went down during the ACC tournament, he did step up and do it. But I don't think there's anything wrong saying that, like, hey, Con Knippel made the right choice by going to Duke. He got to go to the national championship game and went 4th overall. And the Badgers were fine, and Duke was fine.
There were times, too, where he stepped up even when Cooper Flagg was in the lineup, where Con Knippel ended up being the one, not stealing the show, but still just being a little bit more in front of him in the scoring column, too. And the other side of it as well is, like, talent talent is still going to push through. He's coming from an athletic family. He's the first of 5 brothers, I believe. That's just his tree as well. And both of his parents are, his dad is the second top scorer in Wisconsin Lutheran, same high school. His mom is one of the top scorers, if not the top scorer at UW Green Bay. So they're already coming from an athletic tree. It's not like that he, again, how he would have played out at Wisconsin, I think he would have been the same player. I think he still would have been the same guy.
Same guy. I don't think he's 4th overall. I think he's still a lottery pick. He's still a lottery pick, not 4th overall. Again, that's not great. Greg Gard has no track record of playing a freshman like that. So we have no proof that he would do that. And that's not a knock on Greg Gard.
No.
I'm just saying
so
that
you think he wouldn't have gone 4th because Greg Gard would not have played him as early as Duke did?
Well, it would be more of obviously Cooper Flagg was the star, but I'm just saying that Con Knippel went to Duke because Duke's job is to, one, they want to get college players, but they want to develop. Their coach played in the NBA. Their coach in the development of who knows what they're doing in practice. Like, their job is to get players to win college basketball games and develop an NBA game. Greg Gard's job, and he's been great at it, is to win college basketball games. And that's what we know he can do. And so Johnny Davis might have worked against Con Knippel at Wisconsin. The teams might have said, like, hey, Johnny Davis, trash NBA player, one of the most hated players by the Washington Wizard fan base because it was a horrible pick, and they're very
poor Johnny.
They're still mad at him. So, like, that could have worked against them. Con Knippel still would have been a top 10 pick. He still would have been a lottery pick. 4th overall, I think that's just
okay. But I think that's what Scary Alvarez was trying to say.
But who's not saying that? I guess Scary Alvarez created a straw man.
Okay, so that's what you're saying. You're saying it was a straw man argument, not that you disagree with the premise that he would be it's the same player.
He's the same player, and Wisconsin would have won. But here's the other part of it. You probably wouldn't have had Tonje, or Tonje wouldn't have been the same type of player. Like, in this vacuum sort of thing, I think everything comes out in the wash. And again,
so you think if the Badgers have Con Knippel, do they beat BYU?
Yeah, I guess they beat BYU because that point is fully developed. I guess I didn't understand the point of bringing it up because, again, Greg Gard's job is to win college basketball games. We've never had a program traditionally that rivals Duke as far as turning out pros. That's not Wisconsin's job. Every once in a while,
you know why you're going to Duke. You know, nothing against Wisconsin. You know why you're going to Duke. You know why you're going to Kentucky, or you know why you want to go to the Calipari programs.
So I'm not saying Greg Gard is incapable of developing a player or that guy wouldn't have been there. But, like, if you're trying to argue that Con Knippel shouldn't have gone to Duke, absolutely not. I will not buy that argument. Con Knippel won by going to Duke. I'm not saying it would have been bad for him to go to Wisconsin, but we just don't need to come out here and every once in a while I just worry whether it's creating straw man arguments or just getting in our feels about things. Like, we can just be eyes wide open about our program and say, hey, Greg Gard's a hell of a basketball coach, and he's created great college basketball atmosphere here. Maybe he'll develop pros. Maybe he won't, but that doesn't matter at all anymore for us.
Right on time.
All right, the next one here is Wisconsin sues Miami, and we're working on getting Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. I think he'll be joining the show in about 2 weeks. He's like touring the Europe right now, so good for him. But,
wow, Euro Tour. We're going to get fresh off the Euro Tour?
Yeah, we will.
Dang, man.
And he tried to make it work because he is cranking out content there. But after months of silence, the Badgers, and this was expected if you've been following along with the Xavier Lucas thing, have finally made an official legal action against the University of Miami for tampering against Xavier Lucas. The Badgers and their collective VC Connect, Wisconsin's co-plaintiff, believe Miami coaches tampered with then Wisconsin player Lucas in December, causing him to break the contract he signed with I don't know what happened there. I think I was going to burp or something. And with the VC Connect and future contracts he would have signed with Wisconsin to enroll at Miami and play for the Hurricanes. A win for Wisconsin or a monetary settlement from Miami likely would force schools to crack down on their own coaches to avoid tampering, lest they cost their school money. On the flip side, a win for Miami or a judge tossing the case would further embolden coaching staffs to try to pry players off to other schools' rosters. The thing I have with this, Pablo, is that when this happened, this settlement was not in place.
Yeah.
So I think my 2 cents is that Wisconsin is fighting the good fight. They're trying to basically get in writing. I think they will get – I don't know if they're going to get anything out of it. You're not getting Xavier Lucas back. I don't know if you're going to get money, but I do think that what the best case scenario of this is something that's going to be established going forward, saying like, hey, going forward, if you do this, you're going to get in trouble. But in this case, there was no actual – there was no legal binding way to hold someone to a contract prior to the settlement being in place. The settlement is now in place. And also, oh, by the way, you have to prove the tampering. And Xavier Lucas, if I'm not mistaken, he ended up unenrolling from Wisconsin as a student and then going to Miami. So that was a workaround as well. So I don't think Wisconsin's going to win anything out of this, except for maybe the NCAA establishes a precedent that going forward, stuff like this won't happen.
If anything, that's what feels like that's why Wisconsin is going after this, is for the principal reason. That's where I stand on this. I don't think Wisconsin is trying to be petty. I don't think they're trying to ruin Xavier Lucas's career, because at the end of the day, yes, he's an adult and he can make his own decisions, but also he's a college player too. Like, we have to look at that too at the end of the day. Wisconsin, I do believe, is more so doing this for the bigger picture and saying, because I've heard it not even just from football coaches, from coaches across the board. Like, Greg Gard's even been pretty candid about it when Chucky Hepburn decided to transfer over to Louisville. How am I going to tell a kid that he can turn down generational money potentially? How can I do all these things? And I remember Jim Leonard during the interim saying that, very frustrated, pointing out that there were clear tampering rules going on in season. I don't know exactly when the Miami discussions happened between Xavier Lucas and the organization or the school, but it's more, again, like, tampering is not just happening when the season isn't going on in the summer, during spring ball, all those things. It's happening all over the place. So it feels like that. I think, Wisconsin is fighting that good fight, trying to set a precedent, trying to get it out there, because, again, it's not about being petty. It's about doing what's right and just calling it out of that it's a wild, wild west, and it shouldn't always be the wild, wild west. There needs to be some type of control, and this is what feels like, and I'm sure Wisconsin will probably even defend it. That is exactly why they're doing this. Boom!
Now we're going to move on to the Pablo, and you had a friend at Ohio State who says Wisconsin needs to be patient, and we put a clip out of basically saying you believe in Wisconsin, Luke Fickell. So do I. I mean, that's the official stance of the show. I think the recruiting's been there. I think he clearly made a massive mistake by hiring Phil Longo. But to me, I think that mistake, you could call that mistake worth 4 losses. Including, I'm calling the mistake 4 losses because I'm including the fact that the Badgers had one quarterback capable of running each year the offense that it requires a great quarterback to run. And so they didn't recruit properly on the back end to have someone ready to go if their star quarterback went down to run the air raid offense, and then the air raid offense not working here in general. Now, I will die on the hill that if Tanner Mordecai and Tyler Van Dyke played every game, the Badgers have 4 more victories, and that's kind of why I say it was a four-loss mistake by hiring Phil Longo, because if you had Jeff Grimes here from the beginning or the old-school Badger offense and you lost your quarterbacks, then if you had, and all of a sudden I blocked the quarterback, Braden Locke, If you have him handing the ball off more and throwing the ball less, then maybe you still win those 4 games. But in general, it's a 4-win mistake. So I think Wisconsin is building the right direction. I also think Wisconsin, what people don't understand, was in way worse shape as far as recruiting, as far as the portal, as far as trying to build all that stuff up, and overall talent on the roster. And I think the losses would have come regardless of who was coaching here. Because at this point, fans who are mad at Luke Fickell probably don't even think of him as Luke Fickell. They think of him as not Jim Leonhard.
Yeah, that's where the conversation had kind of come from, too, was like big picture. The conversation that we had was, this is, my friend who's a huge Ohio State guy through and through, even like pointing out the Big Ten is changing. It's going through this generational stuff. He does believe that basically, like, unless, I think we all agree, unless Luke Fickell really turns it around or at least gets this team to a bowl game, like, this could be it. But more so saying that we do need to be more patient, especially in this changing era of the transfer portal and NIL and all this and recruiting and trying to fix a wrong of trying to go full air raid with the players that you already have and trying to revamp the system. Like, there's just too much going on. So I do believe still, like when we put out a clip from a show earlier in the month too, I still believe that Luke Fickell is an elite recruiter, because we can't look at because the transfer portal should not be viewed as free agency in the pros. And I think that's what a lot of fans, and sometimes even us, we believe too. It's like, unless we're getting Caleb Williams as the 5-star from Oklahoma and going to USC, like maybe there's a shot. That doesn't happen every single year. That does not. It's not star free agency. Like, some of these guys, they might have built different habits because of the programs that they were coming from or whatever it is. And they're just trying to find a new place. All the situations are different. But going back to the whole point here, it's just a different era. It's something brand new. He's trying to figure it out. But I think from the high school side of it, like I said, he's direct. He seems very passionate. He seems very true. And it's not a used car salesman type of pitch either. He feels like a real person when he talks to reporters and everything. So why I say for Badger fans, why we need to be a little more patient in this one is because, yes, bringing in Jeff Grimes, it feels like it's a better situation. It feels like that guys are a lot more confident. It feels like there's a better vibe with Jeff Grimes. Nothing against Phil Longo. It just didn't work. But we got to be patient with this, because this, again, feels like the first true class that he recruited that's finally going to be making their way into starting positions and making that difference.
Yeah, and Pablo, I don't want to speak on too many specifics, but we talked to some Badgers players yesterday. And you tell me, but were you not significantly more confident about the direction of this football team after talking to some of the current Badgers yesterday?
I think the vibe genuinely feels like it's there. It's not like we'll steal the Molly Brown saying, it's not chicken poop into chicken soup, essentially. Like, I do feel like it was genuinely sold to us that this team feels closer, this team feels stronger, they feel like a better unit. There's no drama, all that stuff. It wasn't like there was big drama to begin with, but these guys feel good. That's just all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jim. I wish you were there to get fired up, but listening to some of these guys talk about the team culture right now and how they're doing in summer practices and how excited they are for Squat Fest coming up tomorrow.
Pretty stoked for that.
It got me fired up.
I am excited for this Badger team. So, again, I'm not one that's out. But, again, my excitement, I don't know where Pablo's is because he's the eternal optimist. My excitement is that, like, this team can win 7 games and make people, like, in the regular season, maybe steal one in the bowl game. Like, that's my optimism. To me, and I don't mean that in a negative way, the schedule is so damn hard that if they win 7 games and they look competent in every game, that is such a dramatic improvement. It doesn't look like it in wins and losses, but it tells me the program's in the right direction. And some things off the top of my head. I want 2,000 total yards in rushing. I want over 4.5 yards per carry. And I want over, 20 touchdowns on the ground. Mm-hmm. And then through the air, I don't want to set expectations on because I don't know. I just want, if the Badger football thing, if you want to look at like, hey, we're going to play well offensively, run the football. And Jeff Grimes has done that. He did that at Kansas. He's done that most places. 2,000 yards, over 4.5 yards per carry and 20 touchdowns as a team, I don't think is crazy. And if the Badgers do that, I think they get 7 wins, and we feel good about them.
What was the Barry strategy, too? Like in the early game, score as many points as you can in the first half, then run the ball because then we're drinking cocktails by 3:30 for a noon game. Wasn't that a strategy?
That was Brett, too. Yeah. that was Brett Bielema as well.
And that was the line you're referring to is from his discussion on the huddle when he was a little frustrated with the Badgers' approach after the USC game.
Yeah.
And the Badgers had a lead, and he said he would have run the ball so much they would have been home having cocktails by 3:30.
Yeah.
It was a good little rant from Barry.
It's that reminder where it feels like, again, Luke Fickell even saying it on the Jim Rome show, that it's not going to be old school Wisconsin Badger-style football, but going back to those roots a little bit at least. Like, don't be afraid. Like you said, Jim, don't be afraid to run that ball.
Yeah.
Run that ball.
And I don't think they will be. All right, the last thing here, we're going to go into the Badgers Twitter portal. Before we get to, so our interview today is Best of June, so that is DJ Shauna,
whoop, whoop.
Mark Van Wettering, and Alec Ingold all talking about different issues for this month. It was Pride Month and Men's Health Month, so we had Alec, DJ Shauna, and Mark on, and we're going to play the best of those, kind of a clip coming up here in a minute, but let's get to the Badger Twitter portal.
It's time for the Badgers Twitter portal.
All right, it is, in fact, time to enter the Badgers Twitter portal. Let's start with number one. I'm going to have a few questions for you based off the best I saw on Wisconsin Twitter, starting with Bucky Recruiting. Take a look at your screen. Early look at some of the top guys for the Badgers ratings for college football 26. He says it's laughable that Tretch isn't above an 80 overall. Ricardo Hallman is the top-rated Badger at a 92 overall. So I wanted to get your guys' opinion. In your opinion, who should be the top-rated Badger on this team?
First of all, Pablo, could you read that? I mean, no offense to you, Riley. I think our viewers at home could easily see that, but we obviously have like a miniaturized screen here, and I was like,
it's not his fault he can't read.
And I got pretty, and I actually, even though I have contacts in the 45,
here we go. I got it.
I have pretty good vision here. If I'm going to go, but I don't need to see that to think the best Badger rated, Vinny Anthony. That's who I thought. That's who I think should be the guy.
He was an 82 overall, Vinny Anthony.
Okay.
The fact that, Rico Hallman makes sense.
Yeah.
Offensive lineman. No offense to Riley Malman. Also, shout out Riley, too. Sharing names. An offensive lineman, the second highest ranked guy on the roster. I don't love that. But
get a win in the trenches.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So okay. Well, there you go. You guys are being the eternal optimists now.
Maybe it's not great for a video game per se, but it's good for real life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, let's see how many guys do we have here that are offensive? Riley Malman. Wow, more
How about we do
offensive
this?
linemen.
I'm going to throw this back on you before we get to the next one. Who will finish the season? Obviously, I don't think they really. I can't remember.
You can always update the ratings.
I don't know if they update like they do in Madden.
They do.
They do? Okay. So who will finish the season as the highest rated Badger?
I think it's going to either be Tretch Kahuna, Vinny Anthony, or Darian Dupree. I think Dupree.
I'm going Dupree on this one. This is the year that he blows up. Already at a 90 speed? 90 speed at 82 overall as a true sophomore. 5'10", 212, and some of the guys were telling us yesterday he's making some plays.
Jim,
he's
how about you?
Some plays in camp.
I don't hate that, but I'm actually going to go slight surprise. I just get this vibe that Dylan Jones is going to get a lot of carries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dupree is going to be more of, I'll just use, he's on the Bears now. We all saw him play with the Lions too, like DeAndre Swift type.
The Bears.
Like your home run hitter, your third down back. He's a heck of a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see dual sets with both running backs back there. I could see Dupree getting more overall or getting similar overall touches as Dylan Jones, but including pass catching and Dylan Jones being the workhorse this year. Dylan Jones, I believe, was a 4-star guy and a heck of a recruit for them. And so I think, and he didn't play a ton last year, I believe.
He's a hard runner.
He had for a while, I don't know if he ended up with it, but for a while he had the longest run from scrimmage last year. He got it in like a garbage time of a game, but still. Like he got it. And when he got a chance to play a little bit, he put some yards up there. I think it was more a style of play of he needs the ball, like kind of a workhorse style that the Badgers didn't really have available at that point. Where Darian Dupree, you could kind of make him part of running back by committee. So I think Dupree is going to have a great season as well. But I think Dylan Jones might have a true breakout lead back type season.
Got one more before we move on. Nazir Forkareem being the 4th ranked guy too. Knowing his story, I think he was a Division II guy when he transferred into Wisconsin. So
I
the
thought
fact
he came
that
from Air Force.
I
could be wrong. I
think he was with Air Force, but
off the top of my head.
he wasn't D1 his whole college career.
Yes,
I think
you're right
he was
on that,
one of
yes.
the players that applied.
Is he playing?
For,
Is that set yet?
He's in the game. So
okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're betting on him being the highest rated, he might not be playing.
Well, no. I'm just saying it's cool to see that he's the 4th ranked player, knowing his story before we moved on. That is sweet to point out.
But I literally was asking because I don't know if I've seen it settled.
I think he did get the waiver.
I hope so.
We'll see.
He deserved it.
I would agree. All right, moving on to number 2 from the aforementioned Scary Alvarez. He was quote tweeting a tweet from TickPick. Name a loss that made you sit in silence for 30 minutes after the game, and he just sent a picture of the national championship loss to Duke. We will be celebrating that 2015 team tonight at the Made 'em Believe event. But for you guys, what was a Badgers loss, or what was the most painful Badgers loss that you witnessed?
I will say
We'll go outside of 2015.
A good bonding moment as teammates was Wisconsin BYU, because it was me, you, our teammate Ryan Wollersheim, who also produced the Jump Around and also produced Jim at Molly with Jim, 4 to 6 on ESPN Madison. I think it was just a moment for all of us together to be sad about that loss because it was so close. To just watch Wisconsin come back, especially thanks to John Tonje, that comeback, or the almost comeback, and it could have sealed the deal, had the chance, had the ball in his hands to go for the win. As great as an exciting of a game that was, that would have hurt because it just felt like you're right there. Felt like you're right there in those clutches. I hate blowout losses. Those are deflating. But I would rather, even if it puts me down in the dumps, those are the moments. Those are the games that stick out to me.
I'll give you some options here. One, this one's more of back in 2000 when the Badgers made the Final Four and they lost to Michigan State 53-41. That was devastating, honestly, in a way that even the Badgers losing to Duke wasn't. Because one, we foolishly thought Badgers would get back, like Bo was going to be there and everything was going to be at least have another opportunity. Things were only going to go up from there. Things have only gone down from there as far as NCAA tournament success. But when the Badgers lost, I was like, we're never getting back. In 2000, that was Dick Bennett's team. Slow it down, Dick. Like, that team, it wasn't, but it basically felt like it was a bunch of farmers. They pulled off the farm and they made a run. It was basically the movie Hoosiers in real life. And so losing there just felt like, well, that was that. That's the high point of our lives as Badger basketball fans. So there was that feeling to it. Now, you guys will be able to help me on this one. Was it, did they lose to Florida after the big win? Bronson Koenig hit the shot against Xavier.
Actually, they lost to Notre Dame for the Bronson Koenig Xavier shot.
So which is the one where they lost to Florida?
After Villanova.
Okay, so that's why I'm getting my East Coast teams mixed up. So yeah, the Florida loss was brutal too, because that team, that was showy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So like that team felt like it had a little bit more in them, and was not the best defense. They kind of just, I think, quit. They just kind of got caught up of like, we did it, and they didn't do it. So that one hurt. That one was bothersome. It was, another one I'll give you is, again, different, but just watching Steph Curry annihilate him. Like, that was just like...
I'm glad I was too young to have to watch that.
Again, it wasn't like devastating, but you're like, oh my God, like, who's this guy?
Wrong side of the Cinderella run.
Yeah, so I think LeBron James was
Somebody
like at
has
that
to be
game,
on it.
getting all hyped up and everything, and so yeah, that was really, this got torched by Steph.
I'll just still always have nightmares of Wisconsin Notre Dame at Soldier Field. Hopefully the tide turns in 2026 or next season. Yeah, 2026.
Yeah, for football,
at Lambeau.
there's football ones.
2020 Rose Bowl for me is up there. That hurt. Should have beat Justin Herbert.
I mean, you got to go Michigan State and Ohio State, the late losses there, the Michigan State Hail Mary, but also Ohio State. It wasn't quite a Hail Mary,
but like the Braxton Miller, like 45-yard completion.
To Devin
Wisconsin
Smith.
had that game won too.
Ironically, I think Devin Smith, the Badgers starting cornerback, was out, and they hit Devin Smith. Brett Bielema told us way back in the day in iteration number 1 of the jump around when we were at a golf outing, he believed that it was Devin Smith and there was one other player that were hurt, and he said that basically, this is classic Brett, which annoyed me at the time too, of like, we won a national championship if they played. Okay, but what about every other team that lost players as well? Is everyone getting their players back? Because then maybe you wouldn't have won a national championship. So I get it, but just
it's always such a terrible argument because it's just not to get too much of the Milwaukee Bucks, but people are like, well, if the Nets were super healthy, the Bucks wouldn't have won. That's sports.
Well, I was gonna say the Bucks do that all the time now. But they would have been good if Middleton and Dame were healthy. Yeah, but they're old and oft injured, so maybe we should assume that they would be hurt. Anyways,
injuries happen, everybody.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Last one for you real quick. From College Basketball Report, Wisconsin listed as the 22nd best team from 1997 to 2025 in the KenPom program rankings. So I just want to know, especially from you, Jim, you've been following Wisconsin basketball a lot longer than I have. How in the world is Wisconsin behind programs like Ohio State, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois in this time frame? I don't get it.
Maryland has a national championship in that window.
They do? Okay.
Yes, so I believe that was Steve Francis. I believe it's in that window.
Stevie franchise.
Yeah, so that would give them that win there. Ohio State had
They had some Final Fours, right?
Yeah, and they had Greg Oden and
Aaron Kraft.
But they also who was the other? He hit a big time three at the Big Ten tournament. It was like Evan Turner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
they had some decent runs.
So they Thad Matta there, they were cranking out and they were pretty good for a while there. So I don't know if I'd put them in front. They probably have more Final Fours than the Badgers. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. Maybe it's the same amount. I don't know for sure. That one's a little dicey. But Indiana's really wild. Again, it would have to be, what was the window since 1997?
97 to 2025.
It had to have been like the 90s, 2000s, and it must have caught the tail end of what Indiana was. Because I don't remember Indiana being, I guess to be fair, Tom Crean had a nice run in Indiana for a little bit there. But I wouldn't put them in front of Wisconsin unless one of those national they had a team, didn't they get to the national championship game or win the national championship Final Four in late 90s? Indiana did. That team, I don't have it all in front of me, but I believe late 90s Indiana was still Indiana basketball.
Okay.
And Illinois, they had the team with Brian Cook that went well, but they also had Deron Williams, D. Brown. Luther had that team.
James Augustine.
That team went to a Final Four and was good.
They were in the national championship game too. Also, it's Darren Williams' birthday. Happy birthday to D. Will. I know it's a Badger show, but just wanted to say that real quick. Fun fact. But yes.
Yes, so actually I can look it up real quick here. Yeah. Final Four for Indiana as far as... So, they won the conference championships here in that window, 2002, 2013, 2016, which is actually surprising to me.
Okay, I don't remember 2016 Indiana.
I'm not
2013 Indiana.
I'm not saying that Indiana should be in front of Wisconsin. I'm just trying to talk through
how the KenPom ratings could have come to this conclusion.
There was a hot minute there. They had Victor Oladipo, Cody Zeller. Those teams were pretty good for a while. Yogi Ferrell was a heck of a college basketball player. So, again, I'm not selling it, but I guess that's where you're getting it from. Eric Gordon played there.
I also got to say, Illinois specifically has made it to the second weekend much more recently than Wisconsin has too. So
Illinois has been solid recently,
but then they also had
the 2005 run though too. That was a big one. That was a huge run for them. But
again, I'm guessing the KenPom, it's probably on his rankings, and so it's not necessarily how far the team goes; it's how well the team played during those years.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's how they got there. I do want to, before we get to our best of, I want to just take a moment to, I guess, acknowledge Nate White. He passed away, a former Badger. We don't know all of the story behind it, but no matter what the circumstances were, just a devastating moment for Badger fans. Once a Badger, always a Badger. He's from the state of Wisconsin, played high school ball in Milwaukee area, and by all accounts, great kid. Braylon Allen, other puts out there, and so you just have to acknowledge that that's just a tragedy, and it's sad, and we hope everything the best for his family and everyone that loved him and all his friends, because we love Badger football, we love Badger athletes, and it's really sad to see anyone that young not around anymore.
Yeah, you never want to be around these situations, and I recall a different thing when Greg Gard had addressed a different situation and having a real moment with this locker room, talking to his players, talking to everybody, saying that it is one of those situations where you do just need to look out for each other. You need to make sure that at the end of the day, reminder too that we're all human, or it's that human moment. And it's just gut wrenching too to see like the players. It's seeing them share the memories that they have is very heartwarming, but it also hurts your heart too, to know that they are going through a painful situation like that. And obviously we're thinking about, not just the players, but his former teammates, and his family too.
Yep.
Anybody that he affected and is loved by, all of those people during this tough time. And it's just one of those, reminders too, just from a big picture too. Hug your loved ones. Let everybody know how much they care or how much you care about them. Again, we don't know what the situation is, but at the end of the day, let people know how much you care about them. Let them know how much of an impact that they make on you, because it's just sad to say sometimes that tomorrow is never guaranteed. And in these moments again, we're just thinking about everybody that has been affected by this, and we're obviously wishing his family and everyone who loves him, just giving them as much support as we can.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick second here, and then we'll get to our guest here. So I'm going to take a second. And now I'm going to tell you about the deals at Steinhafels are heating up for their summer sale. Start with 10% off the entire store, living room, bedroom, dining, and so much more. Make your new room more affordable with Steinhafels special financing, and you'll get a $100, $200, or $300 MasterCard to spend later. But hurry, just like summer, these sizzling savings won't last long. The summer sale only at Steinhafels and Steinhafels.com. Now we're going to get to a compilation of our best of June interviews. This is the Jump Around.
The deals are heating up during Steinhafels summer sale. Start with 10% off the entire store, living room, bedroom, dining, and so much more. Make your new room more affordable with Steinhafels special financing, and you'll get a $100, $200, or $300 MasterCard to spend later. But hurry, just like summer, these sizzling savings won't last long. The summer sale, only at Steinhafels and Steinhafels.com.
And we are thrilled to be brought to welcome in DJ Shauna, who, according to her Twitter, obviously is the official DJ and producer for the Milwaukee Bucks, but also the favorite DJ of one Giannis here.
Yeah.
So is Giannis coming back or what? You got to tell us, since you guys are tight like that.
I wish I had an answer for you. You know as much as I do, and we can, all speculate. And I have all the respect in the world for Giannis. And I think sometimes I'm just grateful that I don't have to make a decision like that, and I don't have the problem of all those commas, honestly. So I'm good.
Yeah, you would know as a DJ, more money, more problems.
Exactly.
That's how the saying goes here. I wanted to start. The show's called The Jump Around. You obviously have ties to the University of Wisconsin. What jump around moment kind of resonates the most with you? Whether you were at the game, you were watching the game, part of it, whatever it is, what jump around moment resonates the most with you?
Oh, I like that clip that y'all use. It makes me happy that you're able to play that iconic beginning of the song. That's really cool. But I do want to say thank you for having me on today. Pablo is one of my favorite humans, and when Pablo texts and makes an ask, I'm in. So thank you very much. Honestly, there's numerous times, but the two that jump out off the top of the dome, my freshman year. So I was a freshman wearing number 40 at Wisconsin. We were ranked top 5 in the country. We had some incredible seniors, couple of All-Americans when Jesse Stomsky and Tamara Moore, as well as at the time Kyle Black and Sarah Jarovic. And we sold out the Kohl Center as women's basketball. And we played Minnesota. And that was one of the coolest feelings in the world as women's basketball continues this sort of like meteoric, I can't say that word today, continues its astronomical rise. There we go. That was a cool moment in my brain that really stands out. And a fun story for you, I had a breakaway layup. And again, 18 years old, I'm a freshman, first, sold out game in front of 18,000 people, and breakaway layup wide open. No one near me except the defender behind me stepped on my shoe, and my at the time Adidas basketball shoe fell off, and I'm running in my ankle brace, and I missed the layup, and to hear 18,000 people go, ugh, it's like just heartbreaking. So that's a great jump around moment for me. And then as on the flip side, my other career as a DJ, the first time I got to play jump around at Camp Randall will always be one of my favorite memories as a former student athlete, and then a woman in a very male dominated space in the DJ industry. And then you put me at Camp Randall, where I've ran millions of stadium stairs as a student athlete,
Yeah.
and I get to feel it from such a different perspective. And I just have so much appreciation for the university and for that opportunity to be a part of something that's bigger than me.
Oh, that one of the best things that makes you who you are, like that genuine person, is that you're real. You're who you are. You celebrate who you are. You're part of Pride Fest. You're, again, that huge voice for the LGBTQIA plus community and everything. What is your message to whether it's somebody who's struggling, or if it's just somebody who is struggling to show who they are and be themselves, and how to be proud about that? Like, what is your message that you want to share with the people listening here, with somebody who might be listening and is in that situation? What do you want to say to them?
Thanks. Sorry, I actually, if most of you are listening, I'm kind of tearing up right now because it's thoughtful, and I appreciate you asking that. I know we are in June and we're celebrating Pride Month. I've actually had an opportunity to talk a lot about Madison and my time there, starting when I was 18 years old, and I give so much grace to the city of Madison and appreciation and thankfulness, because I kind of say jokingly, but like really seriously, that it was such a wonderful city for me to grow up gay, because of the love that I was surrounded by. Obviously, the amount of student athletes then from a peer standpoint, but from the city standpoint, and the support that it felt safe, if that makes sense. And unfortunately, the rest of the world isn't as wonderful and as kind and as accepting and inclusive as Madison is. And that's like why the university and the city holds such a special place in my heart outside of basketball. And so every day I choose to try to be authentically me. And if sports have taught me anything, it's that when we put that jersey on, or we're now labeled an athlete, eyes are on us in a different way than if we weren't an athlete. And so I understand the power of a platform and the power of having that opportunity. So coincidentally now, in the same way that I get to say that I'm the Milwaukee Bucks DJ, I know that every day eyes are on me differently and ears are listening differently. And so I have that chance and that opportunity to just continue to try to be authentically, honestly, as vulnerable as I can be, and recognize the power that is in that just by showing up and being myself. And so that's my best advice, is to remind people, I guess on both sides. One, I have an open heart. Like, we're humans, like we have feelings, we all feel. And I wish that no one had to feel negatively, but unfortunately it happens. And my message to them is like, keep showing up and it gets better and you're not alone. And that's the biggest thing, is just you're not alone and you matter a whole heck of a lot.
Talking with Mark Van de Wettering, Chief of Staff for Men's Basketball Operations here on the Jump Around, and talking a little bit about his article he wrote for UW Badgers, My Words, Living My Truth. And Mark, I wrote this down. It's like you get into your profession and you're working your way up of it, and you're doing it because you love basketball. But then you realize you have this opportunity because you're part of the LGBTQIA plus community, that there is another leadership role outside of your leadership role with the Badger basketball program. So I know you kind of touched on it there, but that decision to be not just out and open, but you thrust yourself in a position of someone who can be a leader and a representative for the community. What's that like? Because most people, this is not a decision they have to make. Like, they can just love who they love and then also have their job and not need to be an advocate or representation for it. And you chose to be that. So it's just a unique thing that I think you did. And I want to just get your perspective on the steps you took to decide that you wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's, as that's come through many conversations as well, but, for me, as I looked across college basketball and specifically the men's side, being the only openly gay man in Division I men's basketball on a coaching staff was a burden that I was ready to bear for the community. It needed to happen. Somebody needed to do that, because there are, people that, may be closeted or maybe processing things on their own, that needed somebody to look up to and somebody to contact and somebody to be a resource for, and I took it upon myself, and I said, as like you said, there's obviously the leadership positions that you're in with your career and different things, but I knew when I was going through my process, I was looking around, the basketball community, and I didn't see somebody at this level, which gave me pause on, should I really be the one to come out? Do I really want to be that person? And, like I said before, just getting on the other side of that and opening through that door and sharing your truth, it has been incredibly rewarding. And, now I've been, like I said, you bear it, for the community, but it's an honor to do so because there's a lot of people that have come before me, in the professional ranks, Jason Collins and Carl Nassib and Billie Jean King, and there's just so many names and people that have been trailblazers in this space before, and that we owe it to those that came before us to continue to push that forward, so it's easier for those coming behind. I took that to heart and wanted to be, that resource for people, so that if there is somebody that's at a small college across the country, they see it's possible. They don't need to change careers because they can't be who they are in this field. And, that was thoughts that came through my mind as I was, working my way up, but also at the same time figuring out who I was of, can I still work in men's college basketball and be who I am? And that's crazy to think about and have those thoughts, but it's reality. And I know a lot of people deal with that and think about that in their everyday jobs too. So if I could be a resource or an ally for just one person through this, it's more than worth it to be able to bear that for the community.
Mark, you mentioned too part of your responsibilities being the non-con schedule, or you schedule the non-con games too. Two big ones: one, that exhibition against Oklahoma at the Fiserv, and then the matchup at BYU out in Salt Lake. Just walk us through that process. One, it's like getting that matchup on the calendar, and two, just also getting to work with. I mean, it's gonna be sweet to see Wisconsin on 2 NBA courts this year too. So walk us through that process, and how excited you are too to from where you started in that process to where it's at, getting to that finish line and scheduling those games.
Yeah, I mean, both of them, I'm really excited about both of them, to be honest. Obviously with the Oklahoma game, being kind of the first chance for fans to see this year's team, and compete against somebody else, and to be able to do it in a great venue like Fiserv. Got approached about doing a game for a couple different schools, and ended up, would you want to host something closer to your house? And I said, well, that'd be fantastic. So Oklahoma was open to it, so we're really excited about that opportunity. Kind of give the fans in the Milwaukee area a little chance to get that first glimpse at this year's team. And obviously you run out there first time and see what we got, and then go for good from there. But obviously then that BYU game, that one came together actually while we were out in Denver. Had a meeting at the hotel while we were there, and obviously at that time didn't know that we were going to play a NCAA Tournament Classic game against them that weekend, but was approached, and they had been looking for an opponent to play, and the dates lined up as we were looking for a game to play on our way out to San Diego for our holiday tournament. So everything just kind of the stars aligned, and then obviously you play a classic game like that, and the rematch was enticing for many reasons. So we want to get another crack at it and see if we can have better results this time around. But it's been really having those games come together is the fruit of a lot of different people's labor. But it's fun to see that come together and have the fans be excited about it. We want to challenge ourselves in the non-conference and get ourselves ready for Big Ten play in the gauntlet that's going to be. So playing a team like BYU and where they're expected to be, we're going to treat that as if it's a true road game because not far from Provo. So it'll be a virtual road game for us. So, no, it's going to be an awesome start to our season there, and obviously build us and prepare us for what's coming in the Big Ten.
For hopping on, and we always enjoy our conversations with you.
Boys, how we doing? We're jumping around. I love the Vibes Golf Club hat. That's you're repping the brand. So I mean, listen,
man,
it's a lot of energy here. I'll bring my part. It's going to be fun.
It is Men's Health Month in June here, and we like to ask some guests if it's pertinent about those sorts of things. Obviously, you wrote a book here, 7 Crucibles, which kind of helps with some mental health side of things and how to overcome adversity. But obviously, you played in the NFL. You currently are. Your physical health probably comes into your mind as well. So even as a younger man who's playing in the NFL, whether it's the mental health side of things or the physical health side of things, what kind of focus do you put on men's health for yourself?
I think it's all connected, right? Your head, your mind, your body, your heart. I think all of it's connected and all of it's aligned. So as you're eating right and nutrition's good, your body's feeling great, I think that uplifts your spirit and it uplifts your mood. So I think you really have to take a holistic approach to it. My wife's like a naturopathic or PA, like functional medicine, all that. So I'm all into the gluten-free, all into the eating healthy. But when it comes to mental health, I think you got to stay on top of it. It's a skill. It's a tool that you can use, how you think about yourself, how you think about others. So being really mindful of that is a huge thing for me. We talk mindset a lot. But, if the mind isn't right, the man never will be. So I think that's a huge one. I love it. Back to the fundamentals. But, no, I think that coaching staff's doing the right thing. And anytime that you have a plan or philosophy and it doesn't work and you're able to put that ego aside and literally just figure out the best solution possible, like that's a great indicator. I think you have a lot of confidence knowing you got problem solvers on a group and you're not just going to do it your way because that's the highway and that's all we're worried about. I think that brings, as a player, I love seeing that from coaches is figuring out what's in the room, figuring out how to solve problems, and you're going to do whatever it takes to figure it out.
Alec, it was great for us to get the opportunity to chat with you, so thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck with your camps coming up, and happy to support any way we can.
All right, boys. Appreciate the jump around. Appreciate ESPN Madison. Thank you guys so much.
All right.
Great week. We'll see
Thank
you,
you, Alec. That is Alec Ingold, a friend of the show, friend of the station. Always great to have him on. Brings great energy to the show. If you missed any of it, you can listen back on the ESPN Wisconsin app. You'll see the show on ESPN Madison's YouTube as well. Again, every 12:30 on Thursday, the Jump Around, a Badger dedicated show, is on.
Is that common that he calls people coach? I love that. I feel kind of fired up. I'm not
that
gonna
was
lie.
awesome.
I did say that to Riley in between the interview. I'm like, I love that he calls us coach right now. That I feel fired up right now.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that wasn't because they didn't know our names, because our names are on the scroll at the bottom. So hopefully
we're all coach now.
I like it. It's a sign of respect.
I like it. I'm not knocking on him. I'm just like that's very cool. That's a different thing I've never experienced.
You don't hear that as like a slang term for someone before.
What's up, coach?
I like it. I like it.
It reminds me of high school because it was like all our teachers were like coaches in different, the big football high school, and you just called all your teachers coach.
All right, coach. This has been the Jump Around, a Badger dedicated show.